Hi everyone, I've got Ligny set up on the board for the next few days. This is from Hexasim and it's a 2 map. The sort of middle is sort of somewhere there. It just about fits on my table, but this is about as zoomed out as my camera will go, so I'll pan the camera up to have a look at the top of the map. So we've got all the French in position all the way at the bottom of the map here, and then through the sort of this section here, different formations. The Prussians are all sort of ready to get into position, or are already in defensive positions. So we'll just have a look at the top of that. Apologies for moving the camera like this, it's not great, but there we go. There, okay. So as you can see, yeah, more Prussians at the top. There are quite a few formations. It's not a huge number of turns, I don't think. Looking at the player aid. But it will take me a little while to play through it, so I'll leave it set up on the table for a few days. And there's quite a few formations, with potentially every formation having 2 activations depending on the die rolls. So yeah, looking forward. I mean, it looks great on the table. You can also play this with AAR as well. I'll play it like this first, and then I need to bring a board in from the garage for a larger sort of space to do both the games at the same time, which I'm planning on doing in the new year. But to start with, I thought I'll just do it. And this is the historical setup from the sort of scenario book. So yeah, looking forward to getting into it. And as normal, I'll do a turn and then do a short summary of the action that took part in that turn. After the first turn, already into some thick action. The French have been pushed back quite significantly here. The Prussians were able to defend and just push them back, mostly down to some good die roll on the part of the Prussians. And the French have decided to push the Imperial Guard formation into this area, and probably this area as well, with these 2 bridges to move their artillery across. You have to they've been thinking about having to do that, and I can see this pocket forming here, which will lead to quite an interesting narrative. This side here, not really too much action taking part yet, but the French have made inflicted some casualties here, and that's pretty much the top of the map. They're sort of getting into formation and moving some artillery into formation. I think the top of the map, which you can't see, is just off camera. Sort of this sort of area here will become a bit of an artillery slog until the French are able to push through. If they are, saying that the Prussians may decide, depending on how the next turn works out, actually if they get the upper hand, may swing round this side of the map. We'll see how things work out. But yeah, already into some quite dramatic action, which is good, a lot of fun. It is a fun game system. I do love this game system a lot, and as you can see, I mean, it just looks awesome. Such a great looking game on the table. It's nice that counters are pre-rounded, so I've not had to spend an age clipping them. Counters are lovely, actually. They're really nice and big and chunky, and they look great on the table. So yeah. So anyway, that's the end of the first turn. So plenty more yet to come. So I've just completed the second turn, and a lot of drama, as you might expect. So the French here, this area here at Ligny, have made some inroads, but not been able to really advance as much as they would want. Some of these hexes have changed hands a few times, and a lot of the French have been pushed back. So we have a column routing away from the action here. Then the Imperial Guard here tried to actually got across this water here at one point, and then the Prussians were able, through lucky die rolls, to be fair, push them back across, and we have some routing units here. There is a special rule. I just need to check about the Imperial Guard routing. And then this area here, the French made good progress and have captured one of the objective hex, and the objective hex here as well, and been able to push the Prussians back, and have crossed over the water here. So There's a lot of flow in the battle at the minute. It feels on a very much on a knife's edge and could be swung either way. The top of the map, which is just off camera, is basically there's a line of French cavalry that are just stopping the Prussians from advancing down and sweeping down onto the French from here. So yeah, Knife's Edge. This is a very, very enjoyable game to be playing. So and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And it honestly could go either way at the minute. The French are definitely taking a beating, especially in this area here. They've lost multiple counters and have not been able to progress at all around the Ligny area. So they haven't been able to get across the water yet. They're fighting really fierce. And again, in fairness, it's as much down to the die rolls as anything. So quite an evocative drama taking part here, just pushing the French back, the Prussians. The Imperial Guard just doing nothing on that turn. It was a short turn. They didn't get the die roll they needed to activate, and completely ineffective. And it's pretty much the same in this area here. That was just quite a short turn, the last turn, and it's surprising how that has, in conjunction with some other die rolls, has swung the game, I feel, at the minute, just in favour of the Prussians. But the next turn, if the French can get what they need and make good on Lahi, sorry, then that could swing back in their favour, and if they can get this Imperial Guard sort themselves out and make good on crossing over here and pushing the Prussians out here, then it could still be for them to fight for. We'll see. So at the end of the last turn, the French cannot get these units across this water line here. Not for love nor money. Well, it's not about love or money, actually. It's about the die roll. They cannot just get the dice rolls that they need. Every single dice roll goes against them. They have, however, made a bit of progress here and have pushed some of the Prussians back here. This formation here is pretty much done for, to be fair. They've taken significant losses, completely unable to make any meaningful progress at Ligny. And here, French, some progress, but it's slow. The Prussians just pushing them back time after time after time. As you can see at the top of the camera there, we've got these French counters moving down the map, and Prussian counters moving down the map, and the French horse units and some horse artillery are just trying to hold them at bay. We've had some charges, we've had some square formations, and then reforming and charging again and so forth. It's quite dramatic. So the game's still got plenty to play for. I definitely feel that the game is tipped towards the Prussians, but if these units here can just make some progress on Ligny, then I think they could still swing it the other way yet. And again, this area here, it's very on a knife's edge. This area here, so yeah, very dramatic, very close, which is a lot of fun. At the end of the last turn, we have the French have just managed to get across the river here and have pushed very hard into this area and have made some progress. Again, the Prussians are stopping them from crossing over this bridge here and stopping them from moving across the water. This part of the map, again, French just not making the progress that they ideally would want to be making, because there are some nice objective hex there, but not anywhere near getting across there. Prussians just valiantly holding on, just holding them back. And then this section of the map, where you can see just there, the Prussians are moving back down, pushing the French, mostly, in fact exclusively I think, horse units, counters here. We've had some charges and some squares being formed, and some of the French heavy cavalry have taken some casualties already. Just the sheer numbers, and very sort of fierce fighting. We've got 2 more turns left to go. I still feel it, in terms of sort of capturing this area, could go either way. There are many objective hexes that I think the French are going to be very difficult to top of the map. I think they're off camera, very difficult for them to get. But they were able to capture those 2 there and there. So, for example, and there's been a lot of very, very fierce fighting between the 2 sides. So yeah, we'll do the next 2 turns. Just finished the second to last turn, and the French have made some progress around this area here. They are 1 hex away from the objective hex, which is there, which the Prussians are valiantly holding on to. There's huge amounts of fierce fighting. They still haven't been able to get across this piece of water. They've tried, and the Prussians have pushed them back numerous times. This area here, again, kind of as the French have stalled, really. They have been able, though, to, it's off camera, get across the water and take, there's an objective at the top end of the map. They've taken that. And here the Prussians have driven the French back, although they are going to meet some resistance from these counters here. So just huge amounts of really close, fierce combat on both sides giving no quarter, both sides not giving up those objectives easy or trying to take them. So we'll do the last turn. The last turn can be quite short looking at the die rolls. So and then we'll see how that all works out, and then we'll add up some victory points to see. But it's been such a close fought game in terms of just taking any ground. And like I said, a lot of hexes have gone backwards and forwards, especially around the Ligny area here, and just across this water here, and even in Salomon, really fierce fighting. I don't think the Prussians will be able to take the objectives back here, and I think there's one over here somewhere, but we'll see if the Prussians can hold on to this objective here. We're going to call the battle there. What a game. In the end, the French took 3 of the sort of objectives, hexes here, and one off the top of the map, which you can't see. And the Prussians held on to this one, which was the most closely fought. So in terms of victory points for those, it's even Stevens. Blucher was injured, and so there's some victory points for the French there. Blucher's in that hex there. I didn't, I'll be honest with you, I did forget sometimes that if the French captured certain hexes, Blucher has to attack, otherwise you get victory points. It's actually relevant, really, because in terms of the casualties, the French inflicted more casualties on the Prussians than the other way around. So technically, it was a victory, a marginal victory, I would call it, to the French. But most importantly, it was a very hard-fought game between both sides, and it could have gone either way, particularly around the Ligny area and around these areas here. Lots of sweeping movements at the top of the map here between cavalry, horse and foot. And like I said, very dramatic. Every turn it felt that things could have gone either way. And that's one of the things I, personally, when I'm playing these sort of games solo, I'm looking for sort of an interesting narrative that plays out through the rule system, through the decisions that I make for both sides. And this game had that in abundance. And this is one of my favourite Napoleonic gaming systems, and this particular battle is one of my favourite battles of the Waterloo campaign, I'll call it. So it was a really enjoyable, very dramatic, epic for me war game to have played over the last few evenings. Probably the one thing I would say is you need to have a bit of room, because it is a 2-map game. The smaller scenarios, of which one of them I have covered, set in a separate video. If you want to play the main battle, the main course as it were, you need a little bit of table space because it is 2 maps and takes a little while to play. I've played it at a fairly leisurely pace and played it over the last few evenings, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Probably one of my favourite Napoleonic systems. It's just the ease of play. Everything sort of makes sense to me. components look great, the map looks great, the rulebook is great, and it's a great reference as well. So I would sit there and play, and when I'm not sure, just quickly refer back to the rulebook, no problem. Yeah, so it was absolutely great. A wargaming delight, I would call this game, if you're interested in the Napoleonic system. Oh, sorry, Napoleonic's period of history. This isn't too complicated. It sort of sits in the medium sort of category for me. Plays really elegantly and really quite quickly. I can imagine playing 2-player would be a lot of fun because you're activating formations backwards and forwards. So I think that would work really well. So the agency of the play is quite quick. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is one of my favourite game systems, as I've said. And a really dramatic game. I think if I was to play this and something of this sort of scale, which is quite large. I mean, it's not a monster, mega monster game by any stretch of the imagination, but still quite large. If I spent the time, you want that close fought, could go either way sort of feeling, and little pockets of narrative that came through. And this has that because you have this area here. The Imperial Guard just could not really fun in a way, just a remarkable story. Just could not really make great progress actually. Prussians' incredible bravery and held the French up every which way they possibly could, and were able to never lose their bite, I would say, and have fought back. And like I said, if the Prussians had done more casualties, I think it would have gone the other way. But as it happened, the Prussians did so technically, yeah. But yeah, a lot of fun. Highly recommended. So yeah, that's it. And thanks for watching as ever. Thank you.